Story time. And I had a story time about my father. And I remember when I got out of college and me and my mom wasn't really getting along and because she thought that I was being disrespectful. She thought, oh, you think you know more than me, which wasn't really the case, but those were the women of that time. So I went to go work with my father and live with my father to really get to know him and everything because she really didn't tell me about him. You know what I mean? You only get one side of the brother. You know what I mean? You only get really one side of the man. You don't really understand. So when I went to go live with him at his apartment, his two-bedroom apartment, and he gave me a job at a gas station the gas station, popular gas station down North Philly. Two things I learned. He hired his women. He gave the women that he was dealing with a job. The women that he was messing with, he made sure that they had an apartment underneath him. It was one woman that, she had kids and everything like that. So he made sure that she had an apartment underneath where she lived at. Which was kind of weird at the time, but all right. So he was just that type of guy. He took care of his women, whether they were friends or whether they were, more than friends. And as I remember, he kind of, once he got divorced from my mom, he never really got into a serious relationship. Mind you, he had two other kids, you know, and, he kind of would go back and forth with one of his baby moms, but, and other women, you know, and being the oldest child, I knew these women. I knew their children. You know, I never really held this against him because I know my mother. I know how my mother is, and she was an ambitious woman, and she was kind of maybe a little socially unavailable, if you know what I mean. You understand? She wasn't really the most warm individual. She was more of a go get it type of woman. She was a pioneer. She was in the army, so she wanted her career in the army, and she really didn't have time to be a wife to him. So, which kind of like preceded what's going on right now. So, I really didn't understand that until I became an adult and just understood how this type of situation goes. She didn't really have to explain it to me. You could watch it by people's actions. And he just became that dude. And I realized after his death how much these women loved him because he took care of these women. He made sure them and their kids had places to stay when they needed them. He paid their rent. He made sure if they needed a job, he gave them a job because he was the manager of a gas station. He was loved. You know what I'm saying? He was a loved guy. Women loved him. Women respect him. I love him. And I guess in that way, I want to be just like him. Even though he committed adultery, even though his wife didn't really have time for him because she was going for hers. She wanted a career and she didn't want to be a wife, so to speak. And, shit happens. But I guess what I'm saying is that the moral of the story is that you're going to have to make a decision whether you want to be a wife or you want to be a pioneer in certain industries as a woman. And maybe your wife and family may have to suffer. And you may have to suffer from that, where your children may not respect you, or they may not love you as when you get older, and you wonder why your children act the way they act, or they distance themselves from you because you didn't take care of them while you was going for yours. So as a child of that, I understand how these younger people that be on this app and they say this because I was a child of that. And I experienced that. Mind you, I love both my mother and my father. But I also understand it took some time to understand both of them. So I just want to make aware and bring that out because a lot of people suffer from that. Or they don't like their pop because, he committed adultery. Men need help. Men need attention. Certain women are not going to give those attentions because they're going for theirs. Even though it's wrong, but men do need attention. So, love each other. Keep in mind that men need help and love because they'll go out and get it from somebody else.